Greetings, people of the interwebs. Jake here, and I decided, rather than running out a blog about some recent comic book movie news here on Comics Amino, I decided, I'm going to do a vlog. Give that a go, because I haven't uploaded on the channel for a while. Yeah, hopefully you'll enjoy this. So let's get started, shall we? So, earlier today, or I guess within the last 24 hours or so, some news broke on the upcoming Venom movie, which I'm sure a lot of us have mixed feelings about, which I can kind of get into that a little bit later, but they announced that Carnage is going to be the villain, which I think makes sense. Carnage is a good foil for someone like Venom, who, even though he's typically a villain, he's not, just straight up evil. And Carnage, he's a serial killer with a symbiote, which is terrifying. And, in the comics, and even in the animated Spider-Man show, Carnage basically Cletus Cassidy becomes Carnage through Eddie Brock. So Eddie Brock feels this sense of responsibility that, he created this monster and has to, put an end to him because, even though Eddie Brock is by no means a good guy, he's still not, inherently evil. So I think that actually could go for a really good story. Even though I'm still not super crazy about the idea of this Venom standalone movie and all these standalone Sony universe films that all of them are Spider-Man characters. Because how do you do a Venom movie or Black Cat, Silver Sable movie without Spider-Man? And it seems like there's conflicting reports even in the media where, 1 week, Kevin Feige of, Marvel Studios is like, the whole Sony stuff, that's their thing, not going to be connected. And then, I think it was last week, Amy Pascal, one of the head honchos at Sony, was saying, hey, Venom and all these movies, they're actually going to be connected. And Kevin Feige seemed very surprised at this news. So even though I'm sure Sony has been in talks of connecting with Marvel, and I'm sure they've been talking to Marvel Studios about this, I feel like Marvel Studios are a bit more like, hey, that's not a bad idea, but, I don't know, we'll talk a little bit more, because we're focused on this right now, and although your ideas are cool, they've got a lot of potential, they're just not in the near future, within, the next 5-year period of Marvel films. But Sony have always kind of they like to jump the gun with world building and trying to build their own Spider franchise and all that stuff. So I feel like Amy Pascal, that was her way of almost strong-arming Marvel and trying to get the fans back on Sony's side, because the way I've always seen when they first announced, because they've been wanting to do a Venom movie since Spider-Man 3, so a good 15 years they've been wanting to do this. And I think it was about a year, maybe even 2 years ago, that they first were kind of mulling around the idea of doing this solo Venom movie. And to me, I've always seen it as one of those things where, think of this analogy, where Marvel Studios and Sony are two little kids on a playground. Marvel Studios has this vast toy box of toys, and they've got this whole story going with the other kids on the playground playing with their toys. You got the kid with the Iron Man toys, you get the kid with the Thor toys, and they're all in unison. They're on the same page with what their little, story is on the playground. And then Sony doesn't have as much toys as Marvel, but they have Venom, and they got the Spider-Man related toys, which is cool on its own, but they just can't seem to really get things together. And they've been trying to share with, they're kind of sharing with Marvel, but they want to do their own thing and get some of the other kids on board. And they're just kind of like, man, we have this Venom toy, it's so cool, and we can play with the other kids in the playground with our Venom toy and their Marvel toys, but we want to do our own thing where they're not going to tell us what to do or how to play with our toys. But I think since fans haven't exactly been on board with this whole standalone Sony Venom universe thing, they're kind of like, maybe we should learn to share with the other kids with our toys. And so I feel like they're just really trying to force this for better or worse, probably worse, just based off Sony's track record with the Spider-Man films. So, I don't know, like, yeah, Tom Hardy being cast as Venom definitely gives me a bit more hope that this is a really good, this could be really good, because he's very picky with his roles, and he's a phenomenal actor, so regardless of what you put him in, he's going to do great. But again, it's still, I just don't know how this is going to work, regardless of whether it's a standalone thing in its own universe, or if they connect it to the overall Marvel Cinematic Universe. I just don't know how this is going to fit, or how it's going to work. But, again, just based on, Carnage being the villain, I think is a good choice. Whatever direction they go with this, again, whether it be standalone or MCU connected somehow, if they do go through with this, again, for better or worse, that's a good choice to have Carnage as the main antagonist for Venom. Because they are very similar, and, again, what better way to make kind of an anti-hero character like Eddie Brock Venom look better than give him a serial killer who has a symbiote running amok through, New York or whatever city they put it in. That's a good way to kind of make this guy, who isn't that great, look pretty awesome. And kind of build him up to make us kind of like him more and want to see more Venom movies with Tom Hardy. So in that regard, that's actually not a bad idea. It all just comes down to execution for me. Whether it works or not, again, we'll see. The Venom movie's supposed to come out, I believe, in October of next year. So, who knows? Let's hope for the best, because as a fan of comics and comic book movies, I want them all to succeed, regardless of what I think of the studio or even the premise of the stories. I want them to succeed so that way we can keep living this amazing golden age of comic book movies. But also, in the same vein as this whole Sony standalone, maybe connected universe, apparently they're working on scripts for a Mysterio movie and a Kraven the Hunter movie, which, again, here's the whole thing. Spider-Man has next to Batman, Spider-Man and Batman have the greatest rogues gallery in all of comics. Whether it be from, their top-tier villains to even their, mid-tier and even lower-tier villains, where even though they may not be, the biggest threat, there's at least something about that villain that kind of makes them likable or, enjoyable when they're on screen or in the panels in the comics. So, and honestly, I've been one of those people where ever since, Spider-Man 3, there are a lot of rumors, before even Venom, that, Kraven might be the villain and Mysterio might be the villain. I've wanted to see Mysterio and Kraven both in a Spider-Man movie for a very long time. Because I think both... Kraven, I just think, is a phenomenal character to bring into, a Spider-Man movie, because I think not only is he a great foil, but he's just a really complex character, and I think if they did bring Kraven into the Tom Holland Spider-Man films at some point, he could be one of the few villains that really shines in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, which, sure, the bar's, kind of really low, because most of the villains are just very throwaway, sadly. But I think Kraven could be that one villain where, if they do connect him, he could really shine. And why not? Because, again, Spider-Man has some of the best villains. Don't waste them. And even Mysterio, again, he may not have, any powers or anything like that, but he's a really... I've always found him to be a really interesting character. And to see someone like him who... fight Spider-Man and, kind of plays the more mental game more so than, physical force. I always find those characters really interesting as well. So, I would love to see these characters in a Spider-Man movie. I don't want to see a standalone movie with these characters at all, let alone a Black Cat movie or Silver Sable. I don't think these characters really lend themselves to solo movies. Now, again, if they're showing up as supporting characters or a main villain or whatever in a future Spider-Man movie, great. I think that could totally work. But even diehard fans of these characters like Mysterio, Black Cat, I don't think many of them have been just really clamoring for a standalone Mysterio movie. I just don't think they are. And if they are, feel free to correct me in the comment section and tell me why these characters deserve a standalone movie. But I just don't think they do. Again, I love these characters. They would make great, like I said, great supporting characters as a villain, or just supporting characters in some form or fashion. But don't put these in a solo movie. I just don't think it could work. But hey, who knows? I can be proven wrong. Maybe there's a clever writer who can somehow find a way to make a good Kraven the Hunter standalone film, or Mysterio. It's possible, but I'm not going to be excited about any of this anytime soon, if at all. Again, Venom, maybe that has potential to where it could kind of work. But again, I'm just really apprehensive about that. So I don't know. That's my thoughts on the whole thing, the whole Spider-Man, Venom, all that nonsense. But another bit of news that dropped recently that I think a lot of you are familiar with, and someone actually made a really good blog about it the other day, is Fox are... again, they're rumors, so nothing confirmed yet. But Fox are thinking about doing another Fantastic Four reboot, but it's going to be more like kid-friendly, and it's going to focus on Valeria and Franklin Richards more than... or maybe not more so, but they're going to be a big focal point of the movie. And first off, I don't think anyone's wanting a new Fantastic Four movie from Fox at all. Especially after the last one. That was just awful. And the two previous ones before that were not very good either. So, and also, here's the thing. If they want to do like a family-friendly Fantastic Four movie, that's already been done. It's called The Incredibles, which is an incredible movie. That's the best Fantastic Four movie we've gotten so far, which is very sad on the fans and the Fox for not being able to make a good Fantastic Four movie. So to me that's just really dumb. I guess somehow respect to Fox to where they're just not. They just don't seem to care what the fans, or I should say don't want, because they clearly don't want another Fantastic Four movie from Fox. And they're just trudging along anyways. They're just hell-bent on somehow making a franchise and making money off Fantastic Four. But yeah, that's not happening at all. I don't see that happening whatsoever, just because Fox clearly don't know these characters or know how to write them. And it's a damn shame, because we all want the Fantastic Four, and if not the Fantastic Four, the characters themselves, some of the other characters and some of the cosmic stuff that would bring into, like, if Marvel Studios, Marvel proper, got the Fantastic Four, even if they didn't do a Fantastic Four movie for a good 10 years, which I think would actually be a smart idea, they could use Doctor Doom, who I think is one of the best, if not the best, Marvel villain. I love Doctor Doom. But they could also bring in Galactus, Silver Surfer, all this cosmic stuff that would just further improve what they've already established with Guardians of the Galaxy, what I imagine Thor Ragnarok is going to do in Infinity War with the cosmic realm in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Fox isn't going to do that at all. Last time they used Galactus, he was a giant fart cloud from space. That's not Galactus. It was awful. And even Silver Surfer, I don't remember what he did in that movie, and that was probably one of the better parts of that movie. So, yeah. I don't know what you all think, but I don't care about this whatsoever. Fox, please, you're doing really good with X-Men. Cut your losses with the Fantastic Four. Work out a deal, sell it to Marvel, and maybe get some kind of residuals to where you can get money with X-Men toys. Because for those of you who don't know, Fox only owned the cinematic rights to, like, the X-Men and Fantastic Four characters, but Marvel, they still get all the money for, like, you know, the toys, any kind of merchandise. It's like t-shirts, toys, obviously the comics, anything that has X-Men or Fantastic Four on them, Marvel still gets the money for that, just not the movies. Now, obviously, the movies make a lot of money, but one of the reasons why Marvel is just, further rolling in dough is all the merchandise. That's why a lot of these studios want to keep making these these big franchises, because that's where most of the money is. Even if your movie doesn't quite make as much money as you would like in the box office, you make all that back just in merchandise alone. So if they could somehow work a deal out to, I don't know, get some kind of residuals through, merchandise for X-Men or something like that, I think that's maybe a fair compromise. Because, again, no one's going to see the next Fantastic Four movie from Fox, regardless of what it is, because no one cares. No one wants to see it. And honestly, I feel like even if Marvel do get their hands back on the Fantastic Four, I don't think... We would definitely be a bit more excited, but I still don't think a lot of the fans would be kind of jumping in their seats excited, right off the bat, if Marvel were like, hey, we got the rights to Fantastic Four, we're putting that movie in development right now. And I think most of us would go see it. I would still go see it, but it wouldn't be like one of my most anticipated movies, let alone Marvel movies of that year. I would just be like, yeah, I'm going to go see it because so far Marvel have a proven track record. I like comic books. I like comic book movies. I think it would be a good idea for them to just wait, again, several years, or use the Fantastic Four characters as kind of like supporting characters in movies, kind of build them up, kind of bring faith back that, hey, we can work with these characters, we can actually do a good movie. But yeah, Fox, no way in hell. Stop it. Just stop it. Every time they do this, I want to just slap them in the face and be like, no, stop. It's dumb. Don't do this. Just cut your losses, sell to Marvel. Get rid of it and just focus on your X-Men, because I think it's next year we get 3 X-Men movies: Deadpool 2, New Mutants, and the Dark Phoenix saga. All 3 of those movies are going to make a crap ton of money, and there you go. They've got their cash cow with X-Men. And even though I've maybe liked about half the X-Men movies, I think Fox are finally... They seem to finally maybe have a good grasp of this franchise now. And they're actually trying to focus on telling good stories and maybe build their own kind of X-universe, maybe. Whether they care... Clearly they don't care about continuity. Whether they'll still try to fit everything in continuity, I don't know. Honestly, I at this point I almost feel like, you know what, just tell a good story like Logan and Deadpool, and I can maybe kind of forgive the lack of continuity. Because at this point, I feel like if they do try to tie everything back together, the only way they could do that is just a full, complete reboot, but I don't think that's going to happen. So if they try to, somehow find a way to connect everything continuity-wise, I feel like it's going to bog down whatever movies they try to do that in. So, yeah, I'm also at the point where it's kind of just do another Deadpool, quality or Logan quality movie, and I'll overlook the lack of continuity just as long as you tell a good story and deliver another good movie. But yeah, that's kind of how I feel about this, and some of this comic book news. But yeah, I think that pretty much wraps up my thoughts on some of the recent comic book movie news that's come out recently. Hopefully you all have enjoyed, and hopefully you all enjoyed this first vlog for the Comics Amino YouTube channel. Feel free to keep submitting ideas for more content to put on here, whether you want to see more vlogs, Q&As, interviews, or brand new ideas. I am more than willing to take in your feedback and do with it what I can. So I'd like to upload on the channel at least bi-weekly. But a lot of times, I'm not always available, and the other curators, so. But again, feel free to submit ideas, and feel free to come on. Can't even talk. Feel free to comment below what you thought about this video. Hopefully you liked it. And if you all want to hear more of me talking for whatever reason, you can check out my own YouTube channel called Paisley Pale Productions, where I do movie reviews. I host a podcast where we talk about movies, comics, music, TV, a little bit of everything. And you can also check out my other podcast that I host on Podbean and iTunes called Shogun's Gateway to Anime, which is all about anime. So if for whatever reason that takes your fancy, I'll leave links in the description below so you can check that out. You can also follow me on Twitter at irishmanjake, and I'll try to find links to the other Comics Amino social media, like the Instagram and Facebook, Twitter, all that stuff. So that way you all can keep up with all the social medias of Comics Amino. We're building our own empire to take over the world and just fill it with comic book goodness. But I think that about wraps this up, and again, hopefully you all have enjoyed, and leave comments below on more ideas to upload here to the channel or just feedback in general. So until next time, everyone, cheers.